So what you need to do is go through MPK Sorensen's article, see what he argues, capture his main points, look at his examples that he uses to explain his point, and generally get to grips with the ideas that he's saying. Okay, the point being, generally his view is that European scholars came here and they imposed their own cultural perceptions onto Māori canoe traditions and how we got here. All right. Now, over and above this, by the 1970s, a lot of these scholars are coming out, and one of the great ones was David Simmons, who wrote a book called The Great New Zealand Myth. This is what you need to understand. Simmons returned back to Percy Smith's argument, where he said Māori came here on a great fleet of canoes, led by the traditional explorer Kupe, K-U-P-E, who led the migration to New Zealand. Now, Simmons looked at his narrative, and what he did is he did what all good historians did. He checked the sources. So when Simmons checked Percy Smith's sources in the original documents, he came to an interesting conclusion, in that he said no Māori tribe actually has this tradition. There's not one tribe that has the tradition that Smith has put online and that we've accepted right up until the 1970s as the explanation for how Māori got here. So that meant he had to go back to the original sources, and he went through the sources, and what he found is that the source material came from a man called Whatuhoro. Now, I don't want to take you through the intricacies of it, but what he found is that the tradition had gone through a number of scholars and had been manipulated and played with over the century, eventually coming into the hands of Percy Smith, who took the document, translated it, and added his own stories to it. So what Percy Smith essentially did is he manipulated and played with the original material, and he constructed his history in that what he also did is he went to these other tribes and got their stories of Kupe, and that story from that tribe of Kupe. Some tribes didn't even have Kupe, so he got all these traditions and massed them together. Now, the only way I can explain the method is that he went 2 plus 2, and he came to the conclusion that it equated to 22. Right? So essentially what he did is he accumulated one document upon another, over and over, and he took them as historical texts, and he tried to construct a history by removing the embellishments upon the traditions. David Simmons, therefore, became a great New Zealand scholar in this sense, and that he deconstructed Percy Smith. Now, what you need to know is that this was a groundbreaking event for historians. Go to your tutorial readings, because we'll be dealing with it in the tutorials. But the great thing in this period was that Māori and historians thought, right, Percy Smith got it wrong. Let's go back to the original documents and what our elders said, and let's find out what the real truth was, what the real history was. It's interesting, because both Simmons, Smith, and contemporary Māori scholars made the same mistake. Before you go to the next clip, think about what the mistake was.